The man accused of executing his 3 young boys, well, several 911 tapes have been released. When you thought there could be no one else who could be getting arrested that appeared in Tiger King, well, there is. Unfortunately, another Mother of the Year contestant. Travel tip. If you've maybe killed your husband, you may not want to come back to the United States. And then finally, our dumb criminal of the day involves Florida Man beer, brewed with nearly criminal amount of hops and a moderate bitterness that just about matches Florida Man's general disposition. Let's talk about it. Good day, everyone. My name is Scott Reich, and this is Crime Talk. Thanks for joining us. You know the drill. Subscribe if you haven't. Like if you do. Leave me a comment below. Hit that thumbs up, and make sure you hit that little bell so that you receive notifications of when we go live or put up new content. Remember, you can always listen to us anytime on any of your favorite podcasting apps. Please go to CrimeTalkSearch.com, sign up for a background subscription service. You'll be happy you did. If there's anyone out there you were ever curious about what was in their background, now is the time to do it. If you're going to get involved with somebody, now is the time to do it. When you go to CrimeTalkSearch.com, you put in the name, literally millions of public records are searched, and a report is generated. And it's going to give you a report. If they have multiple social media accounts, you're going to find it. If they have multiple phone numbers, multiple email addresses, it's going to be found. And more importantly, you're going to get information regarding criminal history. Hopefully the person you're searching has none whatsoever. But if it's there, it's going to be found. You're going to get everything you'd want to know, whether you're going into business or whether you're going into a personal relationship. You're going to be able to find out the information you want to know. So go to CrimeTalkSearch.com, sign up today. You'll be happy you did. All right, let's go ahead and get to today's docket for June 22nd, 2023. So let's go ahead and open the record. First, Chad Doerman. That's right. A string of newly released 911 calls have revealed chilling details about Chad Doerman, who fatally shot his 3 young sons and injured his wife. Mr. Doerman is currently obviously facing 3 charges of aggravated murder after allegedly lining up his 3 young sons, ages 7, 4, and 3, and shooting them execution style. Now, Doerman was arrested at about 4:30 p.m. on June 15th when deputies rushed into his home at the 1900 block of Laurel Lindell Road in Monroe Township and found 3 boys outside the home with gunshot wounds. The authorities reportedly responded to Doerman's home after receiving 2 911 calls. In one of the calls, a frantic neighbor told a 911 operator that she saw a blonde-haired girl whose identity has not been released running down the street yelling that her stepfather is killing everybody in her house. The caller then noted that she offered to pick up the girl in her car, but the teenager declined, telling her that she couldn't leave her family, and continued running towards a fire station. In a second 911 call, the mother of the 3 children could be heard telling operators that her babies have been shot. The woman, who is yet to be identified, was found outside the home and sustained a gunshot wound to the hand while trying to shield her sons from their father. She was immediately rushed to the hospital and received treatment for her non-life-threatening injuries. Now, following Mr. Doerman's arrest, one of the friends, a guy by the name of Mark Holland, opened up about his rage and how badly he used to treat his family. His friend said he had a bad temper, really bad. I think he was a bomb ready to explode. A neighbor who witnessed the aftermath of the shooting also spoke about Doerman's behavior, saying he was angry every day. There wasn't a day he didn't yell at his wife and kids out there, adding that the accused had a bad temper, and he used to yell all the time and treated his wife like crap. Doerman's father expressed that he was still trying to comprehend how his son could have committed the crimes, and he said that he and his wife had no answers to the brutality that his son engaged in and thinks that he snapped. Now, the communication center had only dispatched the police to the Doerman home 3 times since 2020. One of those times was when the 3 boys were shot last week, and court records show only traffic violations, except for a damaging the property criminal complaint when Mr. Doerman was only 18 years old. There was also a domestic violence case 2 years later that showed that he choked his dad. Both of those cases were ultimately dismissed. Now, Doerman certainly appeared to be like many other dads on his Facebook page, and he had just recently posted a picture of him and his kids just days before the shooting. Now, the Claremont County Child Protective Services was asked to see if there was any referrals, requests, complaints, or calls where Chad Doerman was involved or anything at his address. And no current documents show that the police arrested Doerman or even had to put a 72-hour psych hold on him over the years. So mental health doesn't appear to be obvious right now. And there's also no evidence that we've seen that there were financial issues. So why did he take his own life? Well, the police state and the district attorney stated in court that Mr. Doerman confessed and that he had been planning this for months, but we don't know why. If anyone's got any good answers, let me know. Next on the docket, let's talk about Tiger King. And just when you think that someone appeared in this Netflix series, you think no one else could be charged, well, there is, okay? Now, during COVID, Tiger King became quite popular when people tried to pass the time, so to speak, during the quarantines. But the owner of the animal park in South Carolina, who is featured on that Netflix documentary, was convicted in Virginia last week of wildlife trafficking charges. And Bhagavan Antle, Bhagavan, Antle, A-N-T-L-E, better known as Doc Antle, was charged in October of 2020 with illegally purchasing endangered lion cubs in Virginia for display at the Myrtle Beach Safari, along with 9 misdemeanor animal cruelty charges. Now, a Virginia jury convicted him on Friday of last week of 2 felony counts of wildlife trafficking and 2 felony counts of conspiring to wildlife traffic. Now, Mr. Antle was cleared of all of the misdemeanor charges that he faced, and each felony count is punishable by a maximum of 5 years imprisonment, according to the district attorney. Mr. Antle will be sentenced on September 14th. Mr. Antle's daughter, Tawny, and Tillicum Watterson, who also faced misdemeanor animal cruelty charges, were found not guilty of all counts. Now, Mr. Mantle made frequent appearances on the Tiger King, that 2020 series that offered Americans, like I noted, a little escape from the pandemic, and it made us look at the big cat trade here in the United States. Now, the show's star, Joseph Maldonado Passage, known as Joe Exotic, well, he's serving a 21-year sentence in federal prison for a murder-for-hire plot that targeted Carol Baskin, an animal rights activist. She criticized Mr. Maldonado's Passage treatment of animals at his Oklahoma zoo and appeared on the Netflix show. Mr. Antle, who is currently facing money laundering charges in a separate federal court case in South Carolina, denied any act of conduct that could ever be considered an animal cruelty situation. That was a statement that he made when the Virginia charges were announced. Well, guess what? The jury disagreed with that statement. Now, Virginia law allows the trade of endangered wild animals, including lions, for zoological, educational, and scientific purposes and preservation purposes, only with special permission from a state board. What have we said, ladies and gentlemen? Ain't nothing legal till the government gets their cut. Apparently, you don't fill out the paperwork, you get charged. Mr. Antle's lawyer called the jury's decision not to convict Mr. Antle of the misdemeanor charges a significant victory against spurious allegations of animal cruelty. And the attorney said that the felony offenses from which his client was convicted amounts to failing to obtain a permit for otherwise entirely lawful activity, calling them nothing more than paperwork violations. Next on the docket, another Mother of the Year contestant, and I'm getting tired of having these contestants brought up. Anyway, a man brutally killed a young girl in Temple, Texas, more than 3 years ago, and the mother's case has now been resolved and sentenced to prison for more than a decade. Now, the woman, 31 years old, will be spending the next 14 years in prison after being sentenced by a judge this week for failing to take steps to stop her boyfriend, Killeen resident Jaden Nunez, from beating her children, including one incident that led to the death of a 2-year-old girl back in 2019. Now, the daughter of Ashley Marie McAlpine was beaten to death by Nunez at their home because her shoes were on the wrong feet. The young girl's name, Shannon McAlpine, was just days away from her 3rd birthday when she was killed on September 22nd of 2019. Now, Ashley McAlpine entered a guilty plea for first-degree felony charge of injury to a child. Then there were a series of 4 sentencing hearings that were held in May and June, during which 6 people testified. Finally, at the 4th hearing on June 7th, the judge found McAlpine guilty and accepted the plea disposition and sentenced her now to 16 years in prison, with credit for the 900 days that she has already served in custody. Now, Mr. Nunez didn't get off quite so easy. He was sentenced to life in prison for capital murder after a 3-day trial in 2021. Now, police allege that Ashley McAlpine knew her children were being beaten by Nunez, but said she would not stop him, according to a Child Protective Services report. The Temple police were dispatched to the medical emergency call in the 800 block of South 11th Street. When they got there, the 2-year-old girl was found covered in bruises and not breathing. Needless to say, an investigation began into the girl's death, and because the girl cause of death wasn't known, the investigation revealed that Nunez beat and choked the child. And according to the arrest affidavit, the autopsy report said that Shannon McAlpine died of blunt force trauma to her stomach. Are you kidding me? We talked about this yesterday. Sometimes these things get resolved in custody. As stated, the violence that led to Shannon's death began over her shoes being on the wrong feet, according to investigators. And police said that Ashley McAlpine took Shanna from the room where she had been beaten and put her on a bed, but Nunez came in and then reportedly choked Shanna with both hands. Her mother said that she turned blue, but Nunez kept choking her for a couple of minutes. McAlpine said she yelled and tried to pull him off of her daughter, but she couldn't. When he finally quit choking her, Shanna gasped for breath and curled into a ball position, her mother said. At about 2 a.m., McAlpine said she woke up and Shanna was crying. She tried to get her to eat or drink something. Then she saw that Shanna's stomach was swollen and hot, but the rest of her body was cold. She put Shanna in the shower to try to warm her up, but Shanna could not stand on her own and was not breathing very well. Soon after that, she called 911 at about 2:49 a.m. Shanna was pronounced dead at 3:31 a.m. Next, little travel pointer here. I don't know, maybe if you have a warrant for your arrest or you think you could have a reason for a warrant for your arrest, maybe don't come back to the United States. Please meet Rihanna Gabrielle Jackson, who also goes by Rihanna Gabrielle Matute Ruano. Well, she stands accused of 1 count of murder in the 2nd degree and 2 counts of conspiracy to commit murder in the 2nd degree, dating from an August 2021 slaying of Dr. Craig Jackson, her ex-husband. Now, the victim, the Dr. Jackson, was found at his North Bend, Oregon residence with a gunshot wound to the head, according to police, and Jackson's wife told authorities that 2 unknown men broke into the house, fought with the good doctor, and then shot, killed him, and left. Police believe that 3 people were involved in the death of Dr. Jackson, and there was a divorce proceeding between the defendant and Dr. Jackson, but the divorce had been basically finalized, but there were some custody issues that weren't completely resolved. Anyway, well, the Coos County District Attorney Office had planned to file a formal extradition request with Guatemalan authorities when Raina Jackson returned statewide on her own. Oops. She apparently flew back into the United States unaware that there were warrants for her arrest, and she was apprehended at the Atlanta airport. She was arrested on June 14th, and she is being detained in Atlanta pending extradition back to Oregon. And then finally, our dumb criminal of the day. An inebriated Florida man was drinking a can of Florida Man beer. There is such a thing. When he was arrested the other night for disorderly intoxication. Seth Thomas was allegedly yelling at traffic while walking in the roadway in front of traffic and refusing to stop. Needless to say, sheriff deputies arrested him on the street in Seminole, which is a city in the Tampa Bay area. Now, Thomas, cops say, was drinking from a can of Florida Man at the time of the arrest. The beer is produced by a Tampa-based Cigar City Brewing and is a double India Pale Ale that is brewed with nearly criminal amounts of hops and moderate bitterness that just about matches Florida Man's general disposition. So like I said, Thomas was arrested for disorderly intoxication, a misdemeanor, and booked into the Pinellas County Jail. He was released after posting a $100 bond. That's right, Mr. Thomas. Congratulations. You are dumb criminal of the day. And hey, you know, this is what happens when you drink. You make poor decisions. But I love the fact that you're drinking Florida Man beer because, hey, well, it could have happened any better way. I possibly can't think so. At least nobody got hurt. All right, except maybe for his pride, that's for sure. Anyway, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on Crime Talk.